What is up, guys? So, where have I been? I'm still posting shorts whenever a fight card comes along or I have a prediction in matchups that I really think are going to generate a whole lot of buzz. But as far as MMA commentary goes, it's not the most prioritized thing in my life. A few years ago, I started a bunch of different things. This channel was just one of many, and other stuff has kind of taken precedence because that's gotten more traction. Granted, I am grateful for all of you guys who have made me go as far as I have today, but I still want to do some of it, but a lot of it just kind of justifies doing shorts now. Unless I were to get more subs, I really wouldn't be making videos for hours on end, because I remember at times I would be spending 5 hours out of my morning making a ton of videos about the fight cards and everything. And some of them did take off, but a lot of them just, didn't get any traction. And you kind of ask yourself, the work versus the return. I'm not opposed to working hard, but the MMA commentary space, a lot of people are trying to do this, which makes it really hard. It could be a little bit of an uphill battle. Not something I should totally give up on, but it's not something I'm going to grind all the tread on my tires off to the point where I'm just spread thin and I have nothing left to really offer and I'm exhausted all the time. It's just one of those things where you weigh out how much is it worth it. And right now, I'm probably going to keep doing these shorts. I'm going to do some long form content every now and again when it takes more than a minute to say, but I just wanted to give an update as to where it is. So I still want to give something, but just other things in my life have given such a big return that this kind of comes last. And you know what? I'm okay with that. We try. I made it pretty far, for a lot farther than I thought. So it did help boost my confidence in that realm. But if I'm not meant in my life to be the biggest MMA commentator out there, I could live with that. I've got other stuff going on. But everybody who liked, supported, made positive comments on my videos that were very sincere. There were a lot of troll comments that I just kind of let brush off my shoulder. But to all the people who helped out to get where we're at, I still just want to give you guys a thank you. You're going to see some of me, just not as much, because that's how life goes. You make plans, but the universe has a different plan for you, and I feel like you should always work hard, but But I am going to move on to what needs to be said, because I'm piling this in with the news of International Fight Week. And that's that Tom Aspinall and Jon Jones is not happening. It's Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane. Again, for the interim title, what hasn't been said? The interim title is being defended more times now than the actual heavyweight title. Jon Jones has backed out. And I'm of the mind where I wish Jon Jones would just step in there and face Tom Aspinall, because if he wins, then Jon Jones is solidified, greatest of all time, no excuses. And if he loses, he still has an amazing, outstanding resume and still has a lot of legacy in the UFC, which is undeniable. He's in the UFC Hall of Fame. He has had some of the most dominant wins over people who were undefeated. The whole Daniel Cormier saga that went down, as shaky as that was, I think Jon Jones, really win or lose against Tom Aspinall, has nothing left to prove. So I'm not one of those people who's just down with Jon Jones, because you got to give credit due where credit's due. But mentally, right now, where I'm at with this, I think right now you're just helping Jon Jones by giving him this negative feedback. If he wants to keep the heavyweight title shelved and, keep all that, so be it. If the interim title is the thing that's going to be defended, so be it. We all know that the interim title now holds more value than the actual heavyweight title, because Jon Jones' last defense was against Stipe, and it took him a lot longer to finish Stipe, who has been 4 years out, way past his prime, than I ever anticipated. I thought it was going to be over a lot faster than it was. So, I think that it's safe to say that Jon Jones is out of his prime, even though past his prime Jon Jones is still, pretty good. We all know that the more energy we give trying to pressure Jon Jones to fighting Tom Aspinall at this point is just kind of a waste of time, and it's a waste of energy. And you know what? Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane for interim title, this heavily favors Tom Aspinall. He's got the advantage on the feet. He's got the advantage on the ground for sure. Cyril Gane, I just don't see him having the motivation. With his rematch with Alexander Volkov, how do I say this? You could just tell that it was a different guy facing Volkov, not willing to go the full distance, like 5 rounds. And I honestly felt like Volkov was robbed. I really do. I felt like Volkov won that fight. I really didn't see why he shouldn't be up. I felt like that whole decision was wrong, in my honest opinion. But yeah, no, this is just another easy win for Tom Aspinall. And Tom Aspinall might just be the guy where if he has to stay active, I think it's best right now that he stays active for his sake. Because if he's just one of the guys that beats all the top dudes at heavyweight right now, where John Jones is just sitting out, holding onto the belt, I think that's better for Tom Aspinall's legacy. Because you got to think of it in ways like this. Because this isn't the first time divisions have been held up. Conor McGregor held up 2 divisions for the longest time until they finally moved on. And now his legacy is quite questionable. And now we have things where people are more sad to see Tony Ferguson go, even though he keeps losing fights and staying active, versus Conor McGregor, who hasn't really fought since that Poirier trilogy, just made a bunch of noise and kind of bounced. And I don't want to see Tom Aspinall fall victim to the same stuff that Michael Chandler fell victim to, where he just wastes the time in his career, because the more he waits, a fighter's year is like a dog year to a normal person, because a fighter only has so much amount of time before he is that dominant force. And I think it's for the best now Tom Aspinall moves on, because he's wasting his time, he's wasting his energy, and he's wasting his legacy. And if he learns from Michael Chandler's mistakes, we should just move on. Us as the fans know now that the interim title has way more value than the actual heavyweight title. And I think that's just the way it is. I'm just tired of things making sense, because there's a lot of questionable decisions right now that the UFC is making that the fans obviously aren't getting on board with. And you know what, fan base? I absolutely agree with you. I really think that they should stop beating around the bush, make Topuria versus Makhachev happen. I think that, it would be good for Makhachev if he fights Topuria, despite, I know he's facing more featherweights than actual lightweights, but I think Topuria is definitely the baddest guy in the block, and if you put Topuria against any of the top lightweights, I think Topuria has a really good shot at winning. So Makhachev versus Topuria, that's obviously the fight we all want to see. I'm just tired of waiting for the UFC to make that fight. I'm done holding my breath. There's a lot of matchups that should be happening that the fans want to see that the UFC is just not going to make happen. And there comes a certain time where acceptance comes with that fatigue, where we say, okay, you want to know something? Certain things that the fans obviously want that they are not going to give us. I'm just tired of sitting around waiting for it to happen. I'm done waiting for pigs to fall out of the sky, because that day is just never going to come. And you want to know something there? I know it's admitting defeat, but the thing is the people of the top inner circle of the UFC, sadly, they're going to do whatever they're going to do. And us fans in our hearts, we know the reality. We know what's really going on, Obviously, I think what really matters is that we know the truth, right? And at the end of the day, that's all we could really hope for. But, I know that I can make video after video talking about, Tom versus John should happen. Tom versus John should happen. I'm kind of at this point burnt out on that concept. I've been on it for a while, but that's honestly what I'm thinking at this point. That maybe Tom versus Cyril Gane is the fight to make. That's my reasoning behind it, because I don't want to see a gifted fighter like Tom Aspinall fall for the same trap that Michael Chandler fell for, where Chandler wasted 2 years. And obviously when he came back, it cost him, because now Chandler just lost to Pimlet, and none of us actually really saw that happening. I mean, I kind of did. As time went on, it became more of a realistic scenario, but there we go. It happened, and it is what it is. So I really don't want to see what my gut's telling me is going to happen if he continues to wait for John Jones to go down. But that's what I got to say. Thank you guys very much for tuning in for a long-form video. Once again, I'll see about making more in the future. But until then, peace out. And yeah, I think it's time we move on. Cheers.